Okay, today we're doing Jon Anderson, Olias of Sunhillow. It has 8 tracks, at least on the CD version, it has 8 tracks. It was released on July 24th, 1976. It's about 44 minutes, just under actually. And it was produced, written, arranged, everything performed by Jon Anderson. And it truly is a solo album and a solo effort. And I love the way Jon Anderson talked about it in Yes Years when he uh, talked about how he locked himself in the garage and went mad for 6 months or whatever he said. The concept of the album is these three guys, Olias, Randyard, and Kolquak. I think I'm saying that right. Flying around in a spaceship called the Moorglade. And first, Olias has to design and build a Moorglade. Ranyard, if I'm understanding the story properly, is the pilot, and then Kolquak is the leader of the people of Sunhillow. And there is a lengthy write-up penned by Jon in the album cover liner, which, if you look in here, I mean, it's so small that you can't even read it. Anyway, Jon was inspired by the Fragile album cover, which I have here. And this is Fragile. You know, you got a world, which I think it's Earth, but they call it Sunhillow. But that's the Moorglade right there, okay? And he had Roger Dean help flush out his idea, and another guy. And that gets us back to the album cover. So here, that's supposed to be like this. Up there it says Olias of Sunhillow. It features a picture of the Moorglade as depicted by an artist named David Fairbrother Rowe, who took the idea from the Fragile album cover by Roger Dean, and he went the extra mile with it. The inside tells that whole story, as I told you, and if you're interested in reading, there's a website called Olias of Sunhillow at olias.wordpress.com that has the entire story. And it's quite fascinating, really. I read it a couple days ago from end to end. It strikes me as a mini Lord of the Rings story, kind of like a big fantasy saga. You guys know I don't like to delve too deeply into the lyrics of these songs or the concepts or the stories, but this one I encourage you to go read the liner notes, look at the website. It's kind of sad how they fly the Moorglade away from Sunhillow and they watch the planet blow up. I think that's what's happening from the spaceship. What's the deal here? Yes had this break from after the Relayer album and tour, and they needed a break, and so they all did these solo albums. And I just did the Chris Squire Fish Out of Water one, but there's a lot going on with the band at that time. There's tension, exhaustion, momentum, exploration, development. Sometimes you need to do you have to do something different just to break through the plateaus of the everyday monotony that seems to creep in, no matter what your job is, or even if you have the best job in the world, like rock hero or rock star, you still have all these things weighing you down, and that's how Yes chose to deal with it. At least I think that's what they were doing here. They discussed it a little bit in Yes Years. What Jon did was, with this album, go big, go solo, go organic, and really, he proves that he can rely on himself and be just fine. And I think it's a very rare combination of skills that Jon Anderson has. That he can write this. He can play it the way he wants it, and it comes out perfect. Really, it sounds great. He can produce it. He can arrange it. He can write the story. He can write the background. He can create the narrative. He's quite an amazing person, Jon Anderson. I'm a big fan. That's pretty much it though. You can't read this stuff, so if you want to look at the pictures that the guy drew, there's a picture of Jon and that the artist guy is in this picture somewhere, although I don't know which one he is. David Fairbrother Rowe. But you've got some of the lyrics in here. But there isn't a lot of singing, but there is singing on this album. And then on the back cover, you've got Jon Anderson's symbol, which, started to appear at Yes concerts that I went to. He had his little thing. Also, I guess I'm going off script now, but that's okay. This is a bootleg I got. I don't know where I got this. Probably at the exclusive company. I don't know why it has an exclamation point sticker on it. And right here it says "Made in Germany," and it says it's printed "Made in Germany" on the CD label. But it's one of these Atlantic Records CDs. It looks like a lot of my Led Zeppelin ones, and then it says "Made in Germany" on it. So that's the album, and that's the packaging and everything. Pretty cool for Jon Anderson. Track 1 is called Ocean Song. It's 3 minutes and 12 seconds. And the song starts with and then the rumbling of the engine from the Moorglade. And then you can hear John plucking away on his harp. And there's very little melody, but there is some melody. It's more like establishing the ambient textures that dominate this album. And I think that's one of the key things of this album is, and what John brings to Yes is the whole ambient nature of the music. It's really striking and really cool and mellow. And he knows when to ramp up the intensity at times, but not in Ocean Song. Ocean Song is in, well, here's the thing. I couldn't find sheet music for any of this stuff. I did go to Chordify. Chordify.net, I believe, is what it is. You know, some of these songs are being chordified, but you know, they might have 6 or 8 or 10 users that have been working on it, so I don't have a lot of confidence in these. Chordify says this one is key of D flat major. I don't know. Is it? Psh, maybe. But I think they're accurate, but that's pretty much what Ocean Song is. It's an instrumental to get things started. And then track 2 is The Meeting. And here's the other thing. If you go look at like Genius or other websites, there are more tracks, but what John did here, or at least the record company did, is combine the tracks and songs down to just 8 tracks. So track 2 is Meeting, Garden of Gita, and Solo Sound Out the Galleon, which is 3 minutes and 28 seconds together. It's like taking 2 songs and putting them together, and in most cases, there's like a couple of seconds of white space or emptiness, almost like the record going from one track to another, so it's not seamless, and you can kind of tell. Chordify says it's an A major. The Meeting part of the song is 120 beats per minute, and it starts out, you know, John singing "Garden," you know how John sings in that. It's not even. I don't even think it's his falsetto voice. I think that's just his real voice. And then he's singing "Meeting, meeting, meeting" is how it goes. Garden of Gita ends at 1 minute and 28 seconds. And the point of the song is to establish more of the ambient nature of the album, but it introduces John singing and then some rhythm. There's actually some rhythm to the album where it's kind of like swinging back and forth. The Sound of the Galleon part of the song has 8 verses with some nonsensical chanting in the middle. Sound of the galleon to travel to cross close the space between pastures as rightly attained. Da 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 da. It sounds like 1 2 3 1 2 3, like in 3 4 or even 6 8 time. Probably 6 8 time if I had to guess. If I'm right and it's 6 8 time, then the typical verse is about 8 bars, and that to me makes sense because it would make sense that John would want to work in 8 bars. There's 8 verses of the song, and the singing after the 5th verse seems to be like a bridge in a made-up language chant that John did. About 10 or 12 bars of that bridge. And it's not really a bridge, though, because nothing is changing in the music. It's just a change in what he's singing about. The 2nd and 3rd verses are different because they're like the 8 or 9 bars. The point of the song is Olias is building the ship. Track 3 on Olias' Sunhillow is called Dance of Randyrt / Olias to build the Moorglade. It's 4 minutes and 14 seconds. The Dance of the Randyrt part is an instrumental, and it runs until 2:16. There's a lot of John plucking on his harp and playing some nice sounding synths. And he really has a way of bringing ambient synth music to life. And I think that's another one of the big takeaways of the album. And the percussion he is playing is very minimalistic. I don't think he's like got a drum kit in his garage. I think he's just got like, I don't know, some bongos or some random drums, and he's just using that to provide any more rhythm or depth to the rhythm on the album. Olias, by the way, Randyrt and Olias, he's starting to introduce the characters of the album. Now, Olias to build the Moorglade part has 5 verses. It starts after the 2:16 mark, and it starts with some weird sounding synth noises, and I'm not sure what's going on there. It goes for a minute 58 seconds, like I don't know what's happening. I don't know if he's building it. I guess that's what he's doing. He's building the Morglade, and that's what it sounds like in Jon's mind. Olias awake from a dream and drank his soul into the ocean. That's the lyrics. And it's 8 bars again. Seems like 6/8 time again. And 5 verses. Track 4 on Olias' Sunhillow is called Kokwak and Transic. Neon Transic 2. It's 3 parts. And those 3 parts are 7 minutes and 3 seconds. The Kokwak part, and I should have really paid attention because he does sing Kokwak before you get to this song. So I wish I would have really cued in. Because normally when I'm listening to this album, I'm not paying attention to the lyrics. I'm just listening to how cool it sounds. But he does sing the word Kokwak. So I don't know. I can't remember if it's Kokwak or Koquake, but he does sing it in one of the verses. It's an instrumental here. The ambient scene setting, that whole ambient music scene is back, okay? And it's so pretty. It's mostly synth with a deep low end type sound coming underneath. And I think Jon is singing la la through the entire part, like la 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 la. You know how Jon does that. And then runs until about 2 minutes and 37 seconds when the percussion kicks in. It makes me wonder if Jon is a skilled percussionist drummer, because it is cool the way he did the drumming. He's certainly better at it than some other people that you wouldn't necessarily think of as drummers or percussionists. I think he does a really good job. The neon part starts at 2:37 and runs to about the 6-minute mark, so about 3 minutes and 23 seconds total, and it has 4 verses. The dominant rhythm in these songs is back. It's that 6/8, that whole 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. And it's a heavy emphasis on the 1. So like the 1 really, 1, 1, like that. And the ... To move we delight, call his name. And that's how the lyrics go. It's like a ... And then eventually he starts singing this aria thing. And that's the neon part. The Transic 2 part is instrumental, and it starts at about the 6-minute mark, like right around there, and it lasts for about a minute. Back to the ambient chanting, and from the Kokwak part of the first part of the track, that he just kind of brings that back in, and so it sounds really familiar. Track 5 on Olias' Sunhillow is called Flight of the Morglade. It's 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Chordify says it's in D major. It's a slower tempo at like 97 beats per minute, and the 4/4 time seems to stick with all the way through it. And then at the end of the verse, it changes, but it's mainly in 4/4. So this song feels different than the previous ones. The verse he's singing, and the slightest confrontation was dissolved from the start. And this is actually, when you think about it, you got to get to track 5. This is the first real song on the album where it's not like, it's not ambient synths and, that kind of stuff. It's actually like a song, like a pop. No, I wouldn't say it's a pop song, but it is more like a song. And in Flight of the Morglade, you can hear everything. You can hear percussion, you can hear the synths, and you can hear the guitars, and it works. It's not the best track on the album, but you're feeling like he's putting some more traditional song structure into the music. Track 6 is called Solid Space. It's 5 minutes and 16 seconds. It starts out with some jingly synths or chimes. Like I've seen Jon Anderson at Yes concerts. He's got like these things hanging, and he kind of goes, and it makes these jingly. I guess it's a percussion. But you can hear that. I think that's what he's doing. You can hear that at the beginning, and then you can hear the engine of the Morglade or the spacecraft again. Around the 50-second mark, the melody of the song kicks in, and it has a big, sweeping, grandiose feel to it. About the last 60 seconds or so of this song, Solid Space, is back to the ambient music. But it's in the key of F sharp minor, and it's 158 beats per minute. It also seems to be in 4/4 time. The verse is he's singing, hold my life, cross the path, course and curl my dreams away. The way he sings it is like the part in the ancient, like the dot 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 dot. He's back to doing that thing again, and it's 4-bar verses, 7 verses in the song. It's the prototypical quintessential Jon Anderson song, Solid Space. There's some weird sounds at the end, and I don't know what it means, but that's what's going on. Track 7 on Olias' Sunhillow is called Moon Ra Chords Song of Search, 3 parts, and it's 12 minutes and 48 seconds. Chordify says it's in G major and 176 beats per minute, and I think it's in 6/4 time rather than 6/8 or 3/4. It seems to me like the phrases are put together in 6/4 time. Anyway, what does it matter? I'm just guessing. The Moon Ra is about 8 minutes long. It's 4 verses. The song starts with the blast of the Moorglades engine and then strumming and singing, almost chanting like from John. He's like, Moon, Moon Vey, or something like that is what he's singing. The synth starts at 1 minute and 34 seconds on top of the singing, and then the verse starts at 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Verse, he's singing, worlds that lie between are simply seconds of words we do not mean. And then he's singing about leaving the planet, really. And then the music changes at 4 minutes and 36 seconds before he sings the long verse. Chords is the second part of the song. It's an instrumental. It starts at 7:55 and it ends at 9 minutes and 4 seconds. So it's only about 1 minute and 9 seconds of John playing some acoustic guitar. It's very quick. And then Song of Search is the third and last part of track 7. It's an instrumental. It's about 3 minutes and 45 seconds long. This takes the album back to the airy, synthy, ambient mood and tone as before, and it would have been perfect to have a flute playing that line in Song of Search rather than a synth. Although I don't think John plays flute, but he's really good at these synth lines. The final track on Olias' Sunhillow is To the Runner. It's track 8. It's 4 minutes and 26 seconds. It's in the key of A major and 100 beats per minute. Seems like it's in 4/4 time. The verse is Hold Come a Day Dream. Seems to be 8 bars, and then starting at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, this big organ sound, it sounds like a church organ, comes in. And the rest of the album is real airy synth stuff without any percussion. It is one of the few songs on the album, but it does end in that real airy synth stuff. And it's just a perfect closer to the album. And that's the album, Olias' Sunhillow. I think my favorite tracks are the long track, track 7, Moon Ra Chords and Song of Search, and then possibly Kokwak. But I do like the way it begins and with the slow start of Ocean Song, and track 2 is Meeting. I really like the whole thing, actually. It's quite enjoyable to listen to. In summary, the sales, same as Fish Out of the Water. It certified for 60,000 in the UK. I mean, these albums didn't sell a lot. I don't think they sold a lot of vinyls, and I don't think they printed many CDs. I don't know how I got this. I must have had a lucky day or something. I think I got it in the late 90s. I probably bought it the same day as Fish Out of Water. I don't remember. But between the two, I think I listened to Fish a little bit more. ProgArchives.com gives it a 3.96 calculated score. That, how they do it is every individual user gives it a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and then they do a mathematical computation, and some users have weights, because if you're a more important user or ranker on the channel, then your score is weighted, and then that's how they tabulate that score. If you want to look at it, go look at it, but that's what they do. Loser Boy gave it 5 stars. It's his third highest rating on the site after True and Change We Must. When I say his, I mean Jon Anderson's. True is the new album that came out, which I have, and it's the one he did with the Band Geeks. Pretty darn good. And Change We Must, I don't think I've heard. I'm interested in hearing it though, so I'm probably going to go look for it shortly. Allmusic.com gives it 4 stars. Dave Connolly, the writer, says Olias' Sunhillow is not the Missing Yes album. Some might hope it to be. But he has a nice summary of the album and says the album has a spellbinding effect for lack of sonic detail. I I wouldn't say it's the missing Yes album, but what it does for me is it reinforces that Jon Anderson can do anything musically. He can, like I said at the beginning, he can write it and produce it and arrange it, and he can play all the instruments. And what that says to me is he had a huge hand in writing Yes albums, and he's not just a lyricist. I mean, he people say that he wrote the Gates of Delirium and songs like that. So I think he's such an important component of what Yes is or what Yes was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Too bad he's not around in the band anymore. But let me tell you, if you haven't heard that Band Geeks record, it's pretty good. The Rolling Stone record guide only gave it 2 stars, which, whatever. It's the Rolling Stone. What else could I say about it? They could make a movie about this album. I don't know. It's a complete story. I mean, you could cast Johnny Depp as Ranyert and Keanu Reeves as Olias, and then you got to find someone to be Kokwak. You could write a whole movie script, and it might be interesting. I don't know. It's good to listen to. I don't think it's as good as Fish Out of Water, by Chris Squire, but I give it the nod of approval. And if you haven't heard it, you should go. You should seek it out and go look for it, find it. It's on Spotify. It is on YouTube. It's on Jon Anderson's channel. I saw it. And, I guess the last thing I'll leave you with is he's writing a sequel to it, but he's been working on it for 20 plus years, and I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know if he can't finish it or he doesn't like it or if the record company doesn't like it or whatever. But he's got he's working on the sequel, so we'll see what he comes up with. Anyway, that's it for Olias and Sunhillow. Great album, and Jon Anderson's the man, and he's one of my favorites. And next up on the channel, I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish up Chicago 11 and then Kiss Alive 2. If you like this, you can hit like. And if you like my videos, you can hit subscribe, because I know that most of the people that watch this are not subscribed, which is okay because I do that too. But as long as you keep coming back and watching, that's all I really care about. But anyway, I'm doing this more for me than I am for you, because I just like talking about the albums, and it's good for me to just go through and sort out my own thoughts and what I think is cool or interesting about each one of these albums. And so next will be Chicago 11, which I think is the last James William Garcia album from Chicago before they really, it doesn't go well after that. And then Kiss Alive 2. I'm out. Thanks.